This is the Celestron NexStar 6SE, and it turns a confusing night sky into a guided tour you can actually follow. The most honest thing I can say is that it lets me spend my time looking at celestial objects instead of hunting for them. This sits in the category of computerized GoTo telescopes, and it is best for people who want real optical performance without wrestling with charts and star hopping all night. If you are curious about the sky, if you want your family to see Saturn's rings or the craters on the moon without frustration, or if you are returning to the hobby after a long break and want something compact and capable, this hits a very practical sweet spot. The design is a 6-inch Schmidt Cassegrain optical tube on a single fork computerized mount, with a steel tripod and a hand controller. That combination matters in daily use more than any spec sheet. The tube length is compact, so it fits in a small car trunk and goes through doorways without drama. The mount is balanced in a way that feels light enough to carry as one piece, yet it sits with a reassuring solidity once the tripod is spread and the tray is locked. The whole kit weighs around 21 pounds, which for me is the difference between using it on a weeknight and leaving it in a closet. The orange tube has a large focus knob that you can grab with gloves on, and the hand controller hangs from the mount where it is easy to reach without tugging on cables. The tripod legs have a wide footprint and rubber feet that do not skate on concrete. When the wind picks up, there is a bit of vibration if the legs are fully extended, but if I keep them a little lower and sit on a chair to observe, the view settles quickly. The battery compartment is built into the mount, and there is a port for external power if you use a separate rechargeable pack. Small touches like the accessory tray holding eyepieces in the dark actually matter at midnight. Setup is straightforward. From case to first alignment, it usually takes me about 10 to 15 minutes when I am not rushing. I spread the tripod, tighten the center bolt, drop the mount on, clamp the tube in with the dovetail saddle, and attach the red dot finder. Leveling the tripod helps, but it does not have to be perfect. Power on, the hand controller prompts for time, date, and location. I already have my coordinates saved, so I just confirm and move to alignment. I use the 3 bright object method that Celestron calls SkyAlign. I pick 3 bright objects spread across the sky, center each one with the red dot, then refine in the eyepiece. If I choose objects that are not too close together and avoid planets for the alignment itself, the mount nails it. On nights when I rushed and picked a low star near haze, accuracy suffered, and I learned to take the extra minute to choose good alignment points. From power onto the first GoTo, it is a quick, repeatable process. Responsiveness and ease of use are where the NexStar 6SE feels friendly. The motors are not silent, but they are not obnoxious either. Slews are smooth, and fine adjustments with the arrow keys respond without lag. The hand controller interface looks a little dated with old-school menus, but it gets me to what I want quickly. The database is huge, listing more than 40,000 objects, and the search tools are practical. I can enter an object directly, or I can use a Sky Tour mode that suggests the best targets for my time and location. For a casual night under the stars, that Sky Tour feature is surprisingly good at picking crowd pleasers. Once an object is selected, the scope slows, and settles on target. After a good alignment, objects consistently land in the center of a medium power eyepiece and often dead center. Tracking is reliable. Planets and the moon stay in the field while I swap eyepieces or step away to make notes. If I leave it on a globular cluster for a long time, I might need to tap the arrow keys once or twice after many minutes, but for normal observing it just keeps up. Core image quality is where the 6-inch Schmidt Cassegrain design earns its keep. On the moon, I get crisp, high-contrast views. The Apennine Mountains and the crater rims pop with a sharp, etched look that invites higher magnification. Jupiter shows belts, zones, and subtle color shifts. On a steady night, I can see the Great Red Spot as an oval, and the 4 Galilean moons are tiny disks, not just points. Saturn's rings are the highlight. The Cassini division is visible when the air steadies, and the planet's shadow on the rings adds a sense of 3-dimensional depth that never gets old. On deep sky objects, this aperture pulls in a lot. The Orion Nebula fills the field with structure and a soft glow, and the trapezium resolves into distinct stars. The Hercules cluster resolves deeper as I bump the magnification and let my eyes adapt. Under darker skies, the Andromeda Galaxy shows a brighter core and the hint of an extended disk. Stars snap to focus with a tight, airy disk, and the scope holds collimation well. I check it occasionally with a high-power star test, and I have not needed to tweak it after careful transport. The only optical quirk I notice is a small amount of image shift when I rack focus through, which is typical of this design. It is minor and easy to work around by approaching focus from the same direction. Real-world nights are where this telescope proves itself. One backyard session stands out. The air was steady after a cold front, and I set the scope outside early to cool. I aligned on 3 bright stars, let the mount know my time and location, and started the sky tour. The first stop was the moon near first quarter. The terminator line was razor sharp, and the small ridges around Mare Imbrium were visible, which is not always the case from my light-polluted street. From there, I went to Jupiter. The mount put it dead center, tracking held perfectly, and I spent a long stretch swapping between a medium and a higher power eyepiece. Later, I asked for the Ring Nebula, and there it was, a tiny smoke ring hanging in the dark, visible even with porch lights on down the block. That mix of lunar, planetary, and deep sky objects in one relaxed night is exactly what I wanted when I bought a GoTo scope. Another time, I took it to a nearby park with darker skies. I kept the tripod a bit lower to fight the breeze, and I added a simple dew shield because humidity was creeping in. Alignment took a few minutes. I chose Vega, Altair, and Deneb, refined each carefully, and moved to the Andromeda Galaxy. The core was bright, and the disk reached farther than I usually see at home. I spent some time on the double cluster, and it sparkled with different star colors. I also tried controlling the mount from my personal computer using a cable and Celestron software. It worked smoothly. I could choose objects from the planetarium screen, and the scope would slew right to them. For short planetary recordings, I attached a small camera and captured brief video clips, and the tracking was good enough to keep the planet centered while I recorded. A specific use case that has become a favorite is a quick planet session on a weeknight. I roll the scope out, set the tripod just inside the yard, do a fast alignment with 3 bright objects, and then ask for Saturn or Jupiter. I sit in a chair and let the mount do the tracking while I relax and enjoy the view. If a friend or a neighbor stops by, I can hit the tour feature and give them a quick guided show of the best targets at that hour. The barrier to getting good views is low, which means I use it more often. When I want more control, I run the scope from my personal computer and star hop on screen, even though the mount does the actual pointing. There are smart touches that I genuinely appreciate. The Sky Tour mode I mentioned is thoughtful, and it gets beginners engaged quickly. The GoTo database is more than just a number. The objects are organized in a way that lets me explore constellations or types of targets without digging through dense menus. The mount has a cord wrap option that prevents the hand controller cable from winding around the base. The red dot finder is basic but adequate for alignment, and the hand controller backlight is readable without blasting my night vision. The system supports software control, which opens up remote operation from a warm room on cold nights. It is not perfect. The hand controller interface, while effective, feels old-fashioned, and I wish the scrolling and object notes were a little more modern. The motors make a whirring sound during slews that is noticeable late at night, though it is not loud enough to bother my neighbors. Relying on internal batteries is not my favorite, especially in cold weather where voltage drops quickly. I treat that as an emergency option and use a separate rechargeable power pack for longer sessions. The mount is a single-arm design, so at high power and in wind you can see a touch of vibration when focusing, but it damps quickly with good technique. If you want to do long exposure deep space imaging, this is not the right platform. For visual observing and short planetary recordings, it shines. The people who will love the NexStar 6SE are those who want a compact, reliable telescope that feels like a partner. It is for the person who wants to see real detail on the planets, split double stars, and tour bright deep sky objects without studying charts all afternoon. It is for the family that wants a shared experience in the backyard. It is for the observer who wants to keep astronomy simple, quick to set up, and rewarding every single time. If you need a wide field sweep of giant nebulae or you are chasing long exposure imaging, you will want a different tool. If you want a capable, portable, guided scope that respects your time and delivers excellent views, this one is an easy recommendation based on many nights of actual use. I will leave all the information about the Celestron NexStar 6SE in the comments. I hope to see you again in the following videos.